Hello, Kevin DeMackey here, and today we're going to talk about the 3 things that all great creative briefs do. This is the first video in a new series where we're going to be talking about creative brief writing and the creative development process in order to create ads and communications for your brand. We'll be walking through all of the elements of great creative briefs and talk about best practices for writing each part of it. We'll also talk about the creative development process and some of the best practices along the way so that you get the outcome you need with your internal teams and with your agency teams. Before we dive straight into the 3 things that all great creative briefs do, I want to talk just a little bit about some of the frustrations and challenges that tend to happen when we're writing creative briefs and with the creative development process. A lot of times when we're working with teams across brands, sometimes even within a brand, and definitely from brand to agency side, we'll have different formats for creative briefs. And this can create a lot of inconsistencies and frustration around the kind of information that you need or don't need, and everyone being on the same page. Another one is even if you use the same brief template, you'll have inconsistency in how those templates are used, in understanding of what the key components of great briefs are, and actually the skill of having to write those pieces. There's often changing direction along the way. So you may get direction at the outset of a creative process, but then at the middle or the end, the internal teams or even the agencies will feel like the feedback they're getting is changing the direction, and maybe it doesn't match what was initially in the brief. So how that's used is really important. Stakeholder alignment is often a key issue, and that can be up and down the organization. So as a general rule of thumb, you want to align with stakeholders up to the point where the final product actually is going to be approved. So you want the brief aligned to that same level. Conflicting feedback, even within a single meeting, it can seem like different stakeholders have feedback that conflicts, and so that can be a frustration. And then you have too much or too little info, so sometimes briefs can be too long, provide too much information and not be clear. And in other cases, they don't have enough information, and again, there's a lack of clarity from too little information, so you have to get it just right. And lastly, often there's no objective or agreed criteria in the brief or development process around what good work looks like. And so how are we going to know once we've gotten to the end if that work is good or not, or if it's acceptable? So diving into the 3 great things all creative briefs do that help address a lot of these challenges. The first, I have kind of my model here, is the S. And the S actually stands for strategic. So all great creative briefs clarify the strategy and provide strategic direction. Without that, you cannot have a great brief, and it's very unlikely you're going to get a great creative product at the end of the day. So it has to provide strategic direction, and a lot of that has to do with making choices, specific choices. That is, in essence, the art of great strategy. The I in the model here stands for inspirational. So great creative briefs are inspirational. Now, what I mean by that is they set an inspirational starting point. That is not the same thing and not to be confused with inspirational or creative language. This is a common mistake you see in creative briefs. So creative language, while it sounds attractive, it might even sound close to something that's executional, that can cause you a lot of issues because it may not be as clear in intent as you need it to be. So we want to set an inspirational starting point, but we want to avoid unclear and creative or executional language. That's something to be aware of. The last piece here, the A, stands for agreement. So all great creative briefs serve as an agreement between the people who are requesting the work or the creative help and the people who are actually going to do that creative work. So most often it's the client side requesting help, maybe from an agency. And in that case, the document serves as an agreement. Everyone must agree on what the strategic direction is, what our inspirational starting point is, and what the criteria are, or how we're going to judge work when it comes back. And having that agreement aligned to by all parties is very, very important. There is no great creative brief that doesn't do these 3 very important things. So every great creative brief is going to be a strategic, inspirational agreement. That's something to keep in mind when you're writing these. Over the next few months, we're going to be issuing a series of these videos where we're going to dive deeper into how to write every key component of a great strategic inspirational agreement, or in other words, creative brief. We'll also talk about creative development process along the way and best practices to keep in mind. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you want to be notified when videos like this are released so that you don't miss anything, go ahead and ring the bell button. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.